Hey everybody, this is Spermon from Upward Online Learning. Now, thanks for watching for my YouTube channel where I teach you how to learn to create better e-learning courses with Articulate Storyline. And today I'm talking with Marloes Berkers, one of the owners of the Dutch website growcode.nl, about building an escape room in Articulate Storyline. Now, Marloes will share her tips and learnings on how to create an engaging escape room game. Now, hi Marloes, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
As the first question, yes, can you tell us a bit more about yourself and why you and Suzanne started GrowCode?
Sure. Hi everyone. My name is Marloes. I am a freelance learning consultant and I develop learning materials for organizations like e-learning modules or blended learnings, stuff like that. But I also love to develop educational games. And that's where I met Suzanne Snel. She is a freelance storyteller and a text writer, and she had the idea of developing an educational online escape room. And I actually also wanted to create an online escape room, of course, also educational. So that's where we met together. So it became pretty clear that we should work together on this.
Okay. And can you tell us a bit more about the story of the escape room that you created?
Yes. Well, Suzanne already had an idea for the topic because she really believes in the growth mindset. So the growth mindset is actually the main part of the story. She wanted to share the learnings she did with the growth mindset with others, and we wanted to make an escape room because it's an easy way to engage people with this topic. So it's not like already like a big learning course or something, but just to get to know this subject and learn a bit more about it. And an escape room is a nice way, I think, to get people engaged in this, and to, especially when it's an introduction in the topic. And I also had some positive experience with the growth mindset myself, so that's why we came to this topic. And the escape room takes you to the year 2053. This organization, Cortex Unlimited, created a chip that can upgrade skills and knowledge to your brain. So you don't have to learn or practice anything, you just upload it and then you can do it. So in a few minutes you'll become like a professional football player or an artist or whatever you would like to learn. So this sounds, of course, amazing. It's only a few minutes, but also a bit too good to be true. Well, still, you were super curious, so you saved a lot of money, so you can also buy this chip. But when you try to upload the chip, you notice that something is wrong. And you need to collect the 4 elements of the growth mindset to stop Cortex Unlimited and their chips before it's too late.
Now you chose the subject of growth mindset, but why should you choose an escape room as e-learning? Because I guess it's not suitable for all subjects, right?
No, I think also not for the growth mindset. I think it depends. Yeah, like you say, I think it depends on the subject. We thought, especially for an introduction of the topic. So I don't think you can, well, we thought you can just get a bit of an introduction. I'm not sure if you want, sometimes you have these learning courses where you really need to be able to practice a lot of things, or you have to, at the end, you have to explain like all the, what was a good example? Like first aid, if you want learners in the end to really remember all the theory of the first aid, I think an escape room would not be the way to go. But to introduce people to the subject, to get people engaged, maybe to realize why it's so important, I think an escape room would be a really fun and low-key way to get people engaged with the topic. I think that's also what we try to do with the growth mindset, because sometimes people feel like the growth mindset is a topic that they are not too interested in. So also for people who don't feel an immediate connection with things like the growth mindset, they can still have like this really cool experience, and maybe afterwards they are still like, okay, maybe this growth mindset is actually something I would be interested in to learn more about.
What is the added value for the learner to play an escape room, you think, compared to following a normal e-learning?
I think it's not the one or the other. I think it should be part of an. If you really want to learn more about the growth mindset, I think you should also add a course. I think this should be part of a program. So for the growth mindset, we also are thinking about or maybe creating our own actually course, like, because then you can also learn more about it and also practice with it in your own environment. Or maybe we want to see if there are already great courses that we can connect it to. So it's not that at the end of this, it's not the goal that at the end you really know how to apply the growth mindset or that you know everything about it. It's just a small, like, especially to engage people, a more fun way to get to know more about the subject.
That's a great answer. Now, you developed the escape room. Can you tell us a bit more about, for instance, the process of writing a script if you want to develop an escape room? What are the things that you have to keep in mind, or what are the steps that you have to take to create a script?
We started with for the script. Well, we started with the learning objectives, and with that, we first thought of the main story. Because we thought, okay, what does every escape room, if you ever did one, like, you also have this main story that you go through. So that it gives you a motivation to do something. You have some problems to overcome, and you have also an exciting end to that. Also, like, how does the story end in? So we divided it a bit in these parts as well. So first you have this beginning where you explain the motivation. So it puts you in like this state of mind of action. In the escape room itself, in the main part of the story, you have these problems to overcome. So you have to, for example, to get to the next room, or you have to get inside or something like that. And that's where the puzzles come in. And in the end, you want this like exciting end that you actually solve the problem, basically. And it's also, so when you know like these parts, so we actually divided it in these parts. We also thought about, okay, which information do you get where? Because you don't want to give away all the information in the beginning. But during the game, during the story, you receive more and more parts of information. So in the end, you know, like, okay, this is really important to solve. And in the end part, you have some actions to solve the problem. So we started like big with this main idea, divided it in parts, and then started to fill in the details during the way. So we started with this big brainstorming session, and then we sketched a lot, and then we made this storyboard. So we from this concept you get like a more clear idea every step on the way. So I think that's that's how we managed to do this.
That's great that you tips for people that also want to create an escape room to start with the learning objectives or this large goal, and then to divide it into parts. You have to create puzzles in the games. Where did you find the inspiration for the puzzles that are in your escape room?
Well, we did our share of escape rooms ourselves. We're both really, we really like escape rooms. But the main inspiration we took from the learning objectives, actually. We wanted that there was a connection with that. It weren't just puzzles. We really wanted these puzzles to connect with the learning objectives. So, for example, one of the elements of the growth mindset is that you have to practice, you have to repeat your goal to actually start, like, create a pattern. So if you want to be a more sportive person, you have to go jogging or walking like a few times, and you have to like repeat this to actually become this more sportive person. It creates these connections in your brain, and every time you repeat it, these connections get stronger. So to put this idea into puzzles, we thought of puzzles where you also have to repeat things, where you puzzles about patterns, puzzles that you have to connect one thing to the other. So that's actually was a big inspiration for us to create these puzzles. And also other what we thought was really important is that there's a lot of variety in the puzzles. So we didn't want to only have puzzles that you have to read a lot, or but also that you sometimes have to listen, or sometimes you have to find something, or sometimes you have to click on things. So we really wanted to make this different kinds of puzzles, and that helped to come up with a lot of ideas. But we had just plenty of ideas. It was I don't know, we were really enthusiastic about this project, so we had a bit too many ideas actually. But this helped to to create some more options, because sometimes it's easy if you think of like a puzzle that you have to click on something, that you also think of another puzzle that you have to click on something. But because of this variety, we're like, oh no, we already have this one, so now maybe we can also have a listening puzzle or something like that. So that helped to create different puzzles.
At the next phase, where you have created a script, where you've told us where you get the inspiration for puzzles. But now the next step is to build the actual escape room. You chose articulate storyline. Why did you choose articulate storyline for the escape room? Was there a particular reason for it?
Yes, there was actually. Articulate storyline for me was an option because I know it very well. So I already saw a lot of possibilities with storyline. We also thought of other programs. We did some online escape rooms ourselves. Sometimes people use, for example, like PDF files, or like that you go from one web page to another, which is also really nice. But then you sometimes it's a bit linear. So you see this room, you find a letter, you read the letter, and then you fill in an answer and you go to the next part. And we thought with storyline you can create these different rooms where you can walk around freely. So we thought in storyline we can build these. You still have some parts, of course, in the escape room, but you can also go into the one room, find something there, go back, have another look at another room. So we thought that was a really nice way to really feel like you're inside a building, or inside a building. So that's actually why we thought Articulate Storyline was a great program, and also because in Articulate Storyline you can create these interactive elements. Like you have the knobs that you can turn, or you can actually click on something and then something happens. Or so we thought that was also a really cool way to have different kind of interactions. So not only that you have to find the answer and submit it to continue, but really do something, really click on things and stuff like that. Or if you find like this number lock that you actually can click on the numbers and then the door opens, stuff like that. So we thought Articulate Storyline was a really great program to build this in, and we are also really happy with the results with Storyline.
Now, were there things that you really ran into when building the game in Articulate Storyline that you didn't thought of before building it? So, are challenges that you have to solve in Storyline, or was it all more a fluent process?
It sometimes was difficult. I think the main thing, I figured it before that it would be sometimes challenging, but it was the many variables. Sometimes I just got lost in them because the variables give you a lot of options. So then you can find something in one room, it shows in your inventory, you can walk to the other rooms, but to make sure that all these variables were correct and didn't cancel each other out or something like that, that was sometimes really tricky. So sometimes at the end of the day, I was just sitting here like looking at these variables and I just couldn't see it anymore. But and sometimes that meant that I had to rebuild a slide or just start over. It's really, that was a tricky part. I think that was sometimes difficult, but in the end, I always knew like, okay, no, it should be possible. So in the end, we managed to make everything work. And another part was what was difficult. Luckily we also thought of it before, so that made saved a lot of stress. But it was the sounds. We really wanted to engage a lot of sounds in this escape room, so that you really feel like you're inside this, like inside the place. But because we also wanted to use the timer, we have like this countdown timer from 60 minutes. So you know, like, okay, you have 1 hour to solve the escape room. I created this timer actually the same way. I saw that you have this tutorial to create a timer that counts down. But I actually built it the same way, but that means that you can't use layers, because on the master slide you set the timer. So I don't use layers, and we wanted on the background that there was this sound, or music, but if you click on something, you would go to another slide. So then you have this cut in the music. So we made more this background ambience. So when you are outside, you just sometimes hear a bird, or sometimes you hear like the wind through the leaves or something like that. So you have like this basic sound in the background, and sometimes with these little sounds. So if you go from one slide to the another, you don't have this obvious cut in the music of the background. So that's how we solved this problem. But it took some testing before, so that it would still work correctly. So I think that were the two main problems, the difficulties we thought with articulate storyline.
So if someone wants to build her own or his own escape room, what do you think is the best advice that you can give someone for learning purposes to start building an escape room?
I think it's best to start with clear learning objectives. We did that to make sure that we wouldn't lose it out of sight. I think, and also to really think about what kind of learning objectives you can reach with an escape room. So for us, it was also not the case that at the end, we wanted that people can tell all about the growth mindset. No, it was just that they can explain a bit in their own words what it is about. So I think that's a really important part. And also when you start with the learning object, I think it's difficult if you first create a story, and afterwards the learning objectives, then I think it's difficult to combine these two. So if you start with the learning objectives, you can also create a story that actually engages these learning objectives. So I think that would be my advice, and also to start with a good plan on paper. So before you build anything, first think it through. Think okay, what is logical? So you have just this plan. And we also sometimes with some puzzles we were a bit in doubt if we could manage to create it in storyline. So for all the puzzles, we first made this small part of it, just to see okay, do I think it's possible to actually create this in storyline and make it work properly? And then we continued, so we wouldn't waste too much time on building something incredibly difficult if there was also another solution. So I think that would be my advice.
And you've told in your advice now that one of the learning objectives for the people was that they could tell a bit in their own words about a growth mindset. Do you think it's possible compare having Bloom's taxonomy in my head to have a higher layer, a learning objective on a higher layer, for instance, not only to explain it in their own words, but more?
That's a good question. I think it is possible to go for some subjects to go to a higher level. I think if you, it depends on the subject and also on what target audience you have. If they have already a lot of knowledge about it, maybe you can also create puzzles that you can actually practice things. So in the end, you are able to become better at it. So I think there are a lot of possibilities. I think it's only important to that, because the game is really also takes a lot of people get really engaged in the game. They get engaged in they get excited. They have this time limit. So I'm not sure how much content you can I think it's important to think about these conditions. So if you want to put too much learning objectives in the escape room, maybe there is a possibility that it takes away a bit of the fun. So if you want to create an escape room, but you only have to learn only to read and fill in the correct answers, and the story is not as engaging, then you can imagine then I think you should consider if an escape room is the best way to do this. So I think there's a lot of possibilities, also a lot of possibilities for different kind of learning objectives. But I think it's good to think it through and what you want to accomplish. So it's for everything, like all the learning, everything you have to learn, you have to think of the right form to in which the learning objectives actually work. So I think it's possible, but have a good look at it and think it through. I think that.
I think that's a good advice for people, that they must not forget that an escape room is also meant as a game, and it has to be engaging. So you can not put too much difficulties or learning elements in it. You have to balance it out for the learners to make it a great experience. We've talked about your escape room, but are you planning on creating an English version of the escape room? Because the growth mindset is a popular topic nowadays.
Yeah, we would love to do that. It is on our planning, but first we just launched this escape room. So we first want to fine-tune this and expand this Dutch escape room before we start with translations. So hopefully soon we will also be able to make an English version of it.
And a last question: if people want to know more about the escape room, where can viewers connect with you online?
You can find the escape room on growthcode.nl, and you can connect with me or with Suzanne Snel on LinkedIn.
Now, this last question brings us to the end of the episode about escape rooms. Now, thanks Marloes for joining me on this topic and sharing your really valuable expertise with us. Now, the links that Marloes mentioned, plus an extra link to a free puzzle that you can try for yourself, are in the description below this video. Now, I hope you found the knowledge that Marloes shared was useful to you and gave you enough inspiration to create your own escape room in your next storyline project. Now, if you found this video useful, then feel free to hit the like button below, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell notification icon so you won't miss any of my upcoming videos. Bye!
Thank you. Bye bye.